And we're live. Guys,
Woohoo.
welcome back to Conversations with Jen. I am excited to be here this morning with Dorothy Graham Odell, author and extraordinaire of The Overcomer. Yay!
Yay.
And if you're new to Conversations with Jen, it's my mission to bring conversations forward about everything related to emotions, feelings, situations that many of us go through in life, and how to work those through. And interestingly enough, Dorothy and I were chatting on something for a couple minutes, which is what caused us to be a couple minutes late, which is a beautiful lead in to today's conversation. Which
Exactly.
today, go ahead, Dorothy. I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I was laughing because Jen had to calm me down before we started the show. There's just a lot going on in the world here in Canada that doesn't happen everywhere else. And yeah, and she just, when you get into your head and it starts stacking, we call it shit stacking, whether that be through relationships or things that we can't control. And I was perfectly in an all anxiety mode on things I can't control, and Jen happened to bring that all into perspective and calm my anxiety down. So thank you, Jen.
It is absolutely my pleasure. And today, we might have to pivot a little bit, Dorothy, knowing what you just brought into the conversation. And so today's plan, guys, is we're talking about comparison, right? So I can tell you I've had my own experiences with comparison throughout the past. If I'm not careful, I can quickly fall into that. Ooh, what should I be doing? Should I be doing that I'm not doing? And as I talk to many of my clients and as I just have conversations in whole, I know I, for one, hear this as a consistent pattern amongst all of us, that we have a tendency to compare ourselves to other people in that what we should or should not be doing, or conversations of the sorts.
Yes, and it's funny you said that because I was trying to think of when I have compared myself, and it's just like there's been several times that I've done that. I compare sometimes my success. Well, how come other people are at this level of success and I'm here, and I've been working on what I've been working on a lot longer, and then you get down that rabbit hole of the self doubt and causing that anxiety. But then when you stop and take a moment and you just compare yourself to your your future self to your old self and think of the growth that you've had, from a year ago to now, like the growth is unbelievable. And I know we've had conversations before where we don't give ourselves enough credit uh, for the things that we have done. And I think by doing that, if you give yourself more credit, then you wouldn't be comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, I agree with that comment. And it's such a unique dynamic right now. And as we're bringing it forward, I'm thinking of so many other points that I want to drop in. So, well, I'll start here though. For me, comparison's a fine line in that I think some amount of comparison, as not comparison in an unhealthy way, but in a healthy way, to say, "Ooh, that is something I want to do." That's something, yeah, I could see myself growing into in the future. And in a healthy way, because as humans, sometimes we don't know what's out there until we see what's out there, right? So not necessarily comparison, but a normalization and an understanding of what other people are doing, so that especially as younger people, or even those of us who are starting new chapters, can say, oh yeah, I can get down with that. Like that's something that I really intrigues me, without that opposite line of saying, oh, I'm not that good, or I'm not. And I think that the camp that I hear a lot of people fall into is comparison, as in not enough, the not enough conversation, the not worthy enough, the not love enough. The other thing that I'm hearing a lot right now in this entire conversation is the conversation as it relates to the dance between, and I don't want to bring a conversation or a a topic in that is controversial as this one is, but the conversation behind vaccine and mask and COVID, and there's so much disparity behind those right now. I know I'm hearing a lot of conversations from people almost as a make wrong, that they're being felt wrong for their choices, which I completely disagree with, because we all have the freedom of choice. And within all that, the way that I look at it first and foremost, and I always come back to the same, is it's alignment. It's deciding, here's who I want to be in my life. And it's just getting so grounded in, here's who I want to be, here's who I want to stand, how I want to stand for, and here's the beliefs that I hold to be true. And for me, once you know that, and that's your line in the sand, it's not always easy to come back to that, especially when people are disagreeing with you, but at least you have that piece to come back to over and over again. What are your thoughts, Dorothy, on all that? I know that was a lot.
That was a lot. And I'm writing notes. That's why I'm kind of looking off to the side here. So, because I knew I'd forget, because my mind is everywhere right now. Well, Jen's helped me align it back. But so one of the things that you said, if you don't see an alignment, and okay, so just a perfect example.
Please.
A lot of people think that just because you don't want the vaccine, that you are just living life willy-nilly. And I get that a lot, and it irritates me. And there are different choices for people to get vaccinated or not vaccinated. And because I have a lot to lose, I have family members with compromised immune systems and things like that. I'm very cautious on what I do. Very cautious on who I hang out with, what I do, making sure everything is clean, sanitized, and everything like that. But just because I choose not to get the vaccine, people think that that's not the case, that I'm just some airhead, that, I don't have my own opinion about it, and I just go and, it's you're selfish if you don't get it. I've heard that several times, and that statement upsets me to no end. People have no idea. People cannot be getting the vaccine for medical reasons themselves, or religious reasons, or whatever they decide not to get it for. And I think we should just honor that. I respect and totally agree with the position that those other people have. I've never said anything, you shouldn't get vaxxed because this or the other. And it has gotten to such a point here that, and I'm not trying to be political, but
yeah, I definitely want to keep the keep the controversial topics out. Yeah,
and it's getting to the point now where the vaccinated are really trying to force you to do that, and to force you to, just go ahead and their way of thinking, and to just get it. You should just get it because they say so, and the government says so, and this, that, and the other thing. But if you, like you said, if you hold true to your belief of what you need at that moment, or your beliefs are this thing here, and you have somebody sway you because, hey, you're selfish if you don't get it, then, holding truth to your alignment and your belief. And, it's not a hard it's not an easy decision that I'm making at this moment, but it's one that I believe in. So it's almost like my beliefs don't matter, because it's not in alignment with other people think. And sometimes it's hard to stay in your alignment when you have, it seems like, the world after you. And I know that's not the case. I know that's not the case. It's just, anyways.
It's how, again, I want to keep the controversial topics out of this conversation.
Yep.
And to all of your points, Dorothy, it comes to me, in all things, no matter what the topic is, it comes down to honoring personal choice for me. And the way that I think we're saying the same thing, is no matter what spectrum you're on that choice as it relates to the vaccine and mask and all of it, from my perspective, and I think yours is the same, is honor everyone where they're at.
Exactly.
And And from my perspective, it's not our job to judge any of that or where anyone is in the spectrum of that conversation. But I think that that's also how we can take it forward, right? Like when we look at the topic, comparison, has how that interacts with self-love.
Yeah.
This is good because I think that that's why we sometimes compare. And I think that that's sometimes why we, I'm thinking to some of the conversations I've been having, and it definitely is why people sometimes close down because they feel like they were made wrong because of their choice. Much like, and I appreciate that you brought up the example because actually it's beautiful in this conversation because a lot of people are experiencing it because of the choice they're making. They're feeling as though they are getting targeted and being made wrong for their choice.
Yeah. And that is totally the truth, um, and sometimes, even though you stand in your core values and your core beliefs, that doesn't mean that with the outside influences, sometimes it can feel like maybe you are wrong. And that does, get the doubting going, and you're doubting yourselves and things like that. And that can be tough. And sorry, I got to take a drink of water here.
No worries, all good. Dorothy, I'm so grateful that you brought this into the conversation, and we may pivot the topic today because all of what you're saying, I think, is going to resonate with a lot of people who catch the replay of today's show. In that, when we feel a certain way and we have alignment and we say, this is who I am and this is my choice, and we feel like we're made wrong for that over and over again, which I know is happening to people right now because I've spoken with many people who are experiencing the same thing you are experiencing.
Yeah.
That it can be hard. And what I'm hearing is that it can be hard for two things, right? Like it can be hard for one of you question yourself, like, am I making the right choice? And I think it can be easy to doubt yourself in that moment. And also I think it can be challenging to feel alone in that choice.
It feels very alone.
Yeah.
There have been moments that I have felt so alone. And I'm very grateful for you and Dr. Christy and all the amazing friends that I have surrounded myself with lately, because without you guys, I would feel like I'm on an island and can't talk to anybody. And surrounding yourself with people, especially in times of crisis like this, is absolutely critical. And I'm telling you right now, I have doubted my decision off and on, and I have gotten different informations, like if I decide to do it, what I should do, how to prepare my body, how to get ready for this, because there's just so much to this that anyways, I just, like I said, sometimes it feels like you're on an island by yourself, and just surround yourself with amazing people such as yourself, and people who are like-minded, so that you don't feel alone. And whatever you choose to believe, if you decide to change your mind later, make sure it's something that feels right for you, and the circumstances at the time of what's happening, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Dorothy, I want to come back to that, and I want to say hi, Andrea. Thanks for joining. Andrea. It's so good to see you here. So first, I'm just, and anyone who's not familiar with me, I practice energy work, and I'm just sending Dorothy all kinds of energy because I feel what you're feeling right now, Dorothy, and I just sending you a ginormous hug.
Thank you.
Yeah. And okay, so again, I want to stay on this topic. For anyone else experiencing what you're experiencing and feeling like they're on an island, feeling like they're alone, and who doesn't maybe have the circle that you've worked to build, let's talk through where they can find people. Let's talk through ideas for how to find those people that you can connect with and land with, and and work to close that gap. While also, I really believe that the emotional component that comes in of that loneliness feeling is something that needs to be managed, because otherwise we can go down a rabbit hole really quickly.
Oh, for sure. I experienced it before the show.
I know.
Well, now that we're being honest and it's out there, yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was experiencing before we got onto the show. And oh, thanks, Andrea. Um, and yes, so for me, it's funny because this pandemic has been good in a lot of different ways. I will say that it's definitely got me out of my comfort zone. It's gotten me in front of a bunch of people. It's gotten me, I've made so many friends on Facebook, so many friends on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great community to build your network. And it's not all about business. It's about just creating relationships and just really letting your light shine, because people don't know who you are unless you tell them who you are. And I've introduced myself over the last year to, we'll say, close to 4,000 people between both social media aspects. I went from 888 friends on Facebook to over 3,600 friends, and I've tried to reach out in some way, just saying, "Hey, how you doing?" Just trying to build that connection in that network. And I went from like 0 on LinkedIn to over 500 connections. Now, LinkedIn's kind of confusing. I'm still trying to get the hang of that, where a difference between a connection.
Hold on 1 second. Okay. Guys, if you're not connected with Dorothy, connect with this woman. Let's get her to 1,000. Okay, keep going.
So anyways, I just make it a point to say hi to people, hey, what do you do? See how you could help that other person, because it's not all about you folks. Trying to connect, see how you can help them in their businesses, and LinkedIn, perhaps trying to get a job or something like that. And if you don't reach out to somebody, you have no idea. If I would have not reached out on LinkedIn, okay, and I'm going to, for those of you that are believers and believe in the spiritual realm, I wasn't really on LinkedIn, wasn't doing anything. I just thought it was for getting a job, to be 100% truthful. Well, then God told me, he kept putting LinkedIn on my mind. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to go revamp my profile, get on there. Well, then I met this woman, because I was looking to be on people's podcasts. And I met this woman, Karen, who said, hey, I have a mutual friend, Jen, that you really need to meet. And that's how I met Jen. And I have not yet to be on Karen's podcast, but I'm sure I will be at one point in my lifetime. And that's the only conversation I have had with Karen. But Karen led me to Jen. Jen led me to Dr. Christy. Jen and Dr. Christy led me to a complete tornado Saturday morning group. Let's just put it that way. Who are all sisters. And led me, and Jen led me to Michael Prano, who then led me to Carl, who then led me to Andrea. Like, all these people, if you don't open your mouth and say, hey, my name's Dorothy, nice to meet you, you have no idea who you will be connected to. And it has like literally snowballed from there. And I know that was a divine appointment, because without Jen and Dr. Christy and my Saturday morning group, I know that the last 3 weeks that I've been through would not have gone as smoothly as it has. Without building that community of people, those community that, pray for each other and are there for each other. Like Jen was doing some energy healing work for me just before coming on this show, for those of you that are just catching on now, because I was in an anxious moment. And I was freaking out about things I can't control. And now I feel more in control. And here I am laughing and joking about it when I wanted to curl in a ball and cry 15 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. Yeah. So, yes.
Hi, Carl. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Carl.
So you left a lot of really important good nuggets there, Dorothy, and I made a couple notes. Again, pivoting from our original topic, and even a more important topic than everything that we had talked about is what we're talking about now. So on that island, for anyone watching who is really saying, gosh, I feel I'm alone in this. I have these choices. No one agrees with me. Taking it one step further, I'm getting hard times about it. I'm getting criticized about it. That entire conversation that's happening all too much of right now. Finding your people. Guys, to Dorothy's point, LinkedIn, Facebook, I can tell you, reach out to either one of us. If you're having a hard time finding your people, we can find you your people.
Mhm.
You connected.
It's true. We're connected really good right now. Like I like really good right now.
Yes. Now, taking it one step further, you brought up an important point that you and I had talked about prior to the show, and that is choices. Guys, the thing of it is when it comes, from my perspective, when it comes to that moment of the hard things, like what's going on right now with COVID and all the tough choices with COVID, it is what I had mentioned to you before. It's what can we control and what can we not control? Because when we're feeling on that island, when we're feeling like we're getting anxious because of the situation and because of what's going on, when we dial it all back and say, okay, bottom line is, here's what we can control, here's what we can't control, and controlling what we can, right? Like bringing light to the areas that we can, building our network, finding people who are within our sphere, taking care of our emotional and health well-being, and then looking at the things we can't control and how can we minimize those. Maybe it's watching less news. Maybe it's disassociating from some people that we would normally hang out with that are just two polar opposite of us right now. What are some other tips, Dorothy, that you have used to really manage those controllables and uncontrollables in the past?
Well, I think, like you said, just dialing down, like knowing what I can control and what I can't control, and just really focusing on what I can in that moment. Because if you look at the big picture on anything, not just COVID, on anything, if you look like, okay, so one of my goals is to have $1 million business by the end of the year. So if I look at that, that could be freaking scary. But if I dial it down to what I can control today, what's the one thing, Kimberly, you'll love this. What's the one thing I can do today that I am fully in control of that can help me get either past what I'm going through or help me get to that goal? So, dialing it all in and looking at step by step instead of the whole big picture, I think is another thing. Something that just came to mind when you're asking me that question. Because I don't know about you, but if I look at everything that has to be done, sometimes those anxious moments come in. But if you focus on one thing instead of all of it, then it's definitely get you back on track and back into that path that you want to be going on.
Yeah, I call it my 20%. I love staying in my 20% of what actually makes the best results. So, okay, we have people, relationships, community, choices, controllables, uncontrollables, other things that we can recommend to people who are in that moment. They're feeling lonely. They're feeling just the anxiousness. They're feeling all the pressure behind all of what's going on in so many different areas right now. I still come to something that I come to often, and that's self-care and that's self-love and that's self-worth and really taking care of you.
Yeah.
And looking within everything to say, okay, pulling it all back, even if it means taking less time with people, even if it means disconnecting from some people, like I mentioned earlier, even if it means making some shifts that you never thought you would make before with relationships or jobs or things like that. Yeah. For me, I think that's some of the keys right now. And as I think about that, and I think about a couple people in mind specifically, it comes down to pure kindness of yourself and patience with yourself. Patience, I think, is important.
That is good. And I actually exercised this week. Okay, so for those of you that have seen my journey the last couple of weeks, and I've asked for prayers for my dad. So y'all know he's been in and out of the hospital for the last, we'll say, week and a half. Feels like forever, but the last week and a half. And on top of we're still working full time and getting my business and my shows going, it's been chaotic. So I decided, and I am an overachiever, heavy duty. And when I say I'm going to do something, I put 100% into what I say I'm going to do. Only this week, I was kind to myself. And yes, my laundry list of things to do is probably like a page and a half. But last night, I don't know where you all are from, but here in Canada, we're in the middle of the biggest freaking heat wave on top of everything else that we're going through, but a major heat wave. And I don't think public pools are open right now anyways. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'll be honest, I haven't looked it up, but my stepson's mom has a pool. She put one in this year. So I texted her up and I'm like, okay, I'm bringing little man over and we're going to have a swim tonight. Instead of doing off my to-do list, I knew I needed time to just get away from the computer, get away from the world, and do something I love. Now, swimming is one of my all-time favorite things to do next to hiking and walking. And so I decided, well, first of all, I texted my husband and said, hey, ask him if he wants to go. Well, I didn't hear anything by the time I got home. So I walked in the door and I said, you're going, put your swimsuit on, let's go. So I got a little bit of resistance, but he did it. And so we had a great time, laughing, swimming, carrying on out there. And that is just what I needed, to do something that I love that I haven't been able to do in a long time. And just focused on seeing the joy on his face, on doing something that he likes too. And we came home late, and then I had a really great conversation with Jairus Tucker last night after that. And, I felt refreshed that I could have had that conversation, because to tell you the truth, yesterday, my energy was drained with very little sleep the last couple of weeks and just everything going on. I did allow my tank to get empty, and which happens. We're all human. Yes, we could preach all day to self-care, but when you're in the moment and you're in the middle of a crisis, sometimes you just go into crisis mode. But I also made sure that I was, I made a day for us to go swimming. I also was reading. I love romance novels. Yes. Me, who wrote my own book about my life story, loves romance novels. And so I made sure that I was reading, a couple pages a day of that too, and just really focusing and taking the time for me, because I knew that somehow, and instead of listening to a podcast at work, I listened to music all day yesterday. Good. Music that would pump me up instead of, I'm like, I need to get my energy up somehow. So I started listening to the oldies. Now, who's our classic rock people out there? Because I love you, and it just got me going.
I love it. Dorothy, you raise a really good point. And first, I just want to call out LinkedIn user. Drop us a name. Who's with us today? And you're right, community is key. Yeah. And Andrea, thank you. Yes, kindness and patience for self is really important. So you made a really good nugget comment in there, in that we talk about self-care, we talk about self-love. Guys, that doesn't mean that we don't fall behind sometimes. It doesn't mean any of us are perfect in the self-love or self-care camp. It means that every day we're just working towards being stronger in it, and being consciously aware of saying, just like you did, okay, I'm drained. I got to take a break. And it's knowing enough to know physiologically, my body's off, I'm feeling drained, something's not right. If I keep pushing harder, it's going to drive more probably stress, anxiousness, more depletion, or again, conscious self-care. Nope, I'm taking a break. I need to re-energize. I need to refill my cup. And again, the biggest point is, it doesn't mean that we don't ever fall backwards a little bit. It just means when we notice it, we catch back up. and then we re-energize. You also, and I agree with Andrea. Yes, music is the best.
All right, Andrea. 80s tunes. That good old classic rock and roll. Like, I like my Christian music too, but yeah.
Agreed. And another note that I had made when you were chatting is, guys, everyone has their own opinions. Everyone has their own perspectives. And as we talk about alignment and as we talk about being who we are, it's important that everybody remember we're not responsible for taking on other people's gifts of their opinions on us. And I know that that's not always easy, but recognizing that that's their opinion and you don't have to own it is completely okay. And I think it's an important reminder of anyone who has a tendency to want to just hear and take on what other people have to say. So,
and that is truly true. And, you know, that raises a good point, Jen, because I know that what other people think of me really doesn't matter. But when it feels like half the world is taking on their stance, it feels like overwhelming. And so we just have to, like you said, put that back into perspective, and just really what can you focus on? What can you control in that moment? Don't look, you know, the year ahead. Let's look at it right at this moment, and having great friends like Jen, who are in your community to bring you back to that instead of allowing you to keep on like freaking out, is totally key. And you're right. What other people think of you is none of your business. But sometimes we get hung up on that, but you just got to bring yourself back.
Yeah. Well, it comes down to the original topic of comparison. And in fact is we don't know what anyone else is thinking. And I really have it that everyone else has their own shit too. And if we really stay in our lane, and again, if we get to alignment, and if we just know and we give grace to the fact to say, however other people are responding, it could be that they're responding out of fear. You know, I really think that there's a lot of people afraid right now, and fear and emotions does really powerful things to people. You know, I look at myself, and in my toughest moments, in my worst year, 8.5 years ago, in my worst year, emotions got the better of me. They did. And physiologically, I talked about it last week on last week's show. Physiologically, when our emotions get to a certain, and our physiology gets to a certain place, our brain shuts off and all we hear is blah, 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 blah. And I think that the fear is taking over in some situations right now. And I'm not condoning anything, especially as it relates to judging anyone, because it's not a game that I play. Like, I believe in loving everybody, and everybody is important. And everybody's perspectives are important. It's just who I am and who I choose to be. Right. But bottom line is, if we can give grace to both ourselves and that other person, for me at least, it allows me to move forward in a way that hurts less, and that I can easier say that that's not an opinion I want to own, and it's okay if you feel a certain way, but I'm not going to own it. So,
right. That is so true. Fear can stop you in your tracks.
Yeah, you bet it can.
And when you are, okay, so I know I have a lot of good stuff coming down the pipeline, just like I know Jen has phenomenal stuff coming down the pipeline. When I always say that there's the battle that we're in everyday life, and then there's a spiritual battle. And I truly believe that. And I truly believe that once you get closer and closer and closer to your major goals, there's, you know, fear steps in. And so whether that be in the form of COVID, or whether that be in the form of a family member getting sick and almost dying on you, or whether that be like losing a job, or somebody doesn't like you, so they've cut you off. And I believe in those moments when somebody cuts you off, that's for a reason too. So use that to your advantage. You know, I'm a firm believer.
You need to slow down. You needed, the universe, creator, or however you choose to define, was saying you need to slow down. That's why you just got cut off.
That's right. Yeah. And in these moments, like, I'm gonna have to go back and play this again if I get back into those moments again, because that's just a reminder that, if you're feeling that fear, that anxiousness, that's also an indicator that something is totally off. And what are you focusing on that you shouldn't be focusing on? Because if you're laser focused, like you said, on your goal and your intention and your core beliefs and your core values, and you're getting all this white noise, that just means you're getting closer to what you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good reminder. Thank you for that.
Yeah. and I still have it. And yes, Andrea, it's a great quote. Agreed.
Love it.
I really still have it, especially with all the energy pieces that I do, that energetically we can really get stuck in our old stories. And I mean, we all know, and you've heard me talk about it a lot, our body literally keeps the score. And until we change that pattern in our body, we're literally living into the past.
Mm-hmm.
When we can let go of the emotional scarring that lives in ourselves, and we can energetically get ourselves on the right track, it's easier to move through those moments of fear, and it's easier to move through the moments of anxiety, because we've literally healed the past physiology of what we felt in the past.
Right.
So
I totally love that. And I just want to bring up something, because you talked about your energy healing and things like that. If you are in the Beaver Dam area
or remotely, I do a lot of remotely.
Yes, or remotely, because Jen, I'm here in Canada, and Jen does energy healing work on this lovely body right here in Canada. But if you're in the Beaver Dam area, Wisconsin, right? Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. Okay.
I'm also working on being in Chicago, greater Chicagoland area a day a month as well. So that's coming.
Can I tell them, or are you going to tell them what's happening on Monday?
Go ahead. You're good.
Are you sure?
Sure. Yes.
It's your thing.
So okay. Go ahead. No.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm going to shut up.
So guys, for those of you who are not aware, and thank you, Dorothy, for completely putting me on the spot. I do intuitive energy work. So using multiple modalities of energy, and guys, we're all energy. It's science. It's just a fact. And as we channel energy to our bodies, it can quite literally bring the energy to us so that our bodies can naturally heal. Our bodies are made to heal themselves. And I'm so excited and grateful to be joining forces with GNP Massage in the Beaver Dam, Wisconsin area, that I'll be in person there 2 days a week. And for anyone who's not local to Wisconsin, you can still always schedule with me remotely. I love meeting with people and helping. It's great for trauma work, healing past traumas, anxiety, depression. Even just if you're feeling that constant fatigue, if you're feeling that constant drainedness, like you can't get ahead, it could be energetically that your body's just out of balance. And as you energetically get back in balance, it can help you get back in sync. So I'm super excited. Thank you, Dorothy, for bringing that up to everyone's awareness.
That's right.
Yes.
Oh, I want the world to know just how great Jen Zahari really is, because seriously, this woman has helped me through so many different situations, and it's exciting to see her grow, and it's truly exciting. She is renting space somewhere else, and it's truly phenomenal that now the public can come in and see her, because I mean, I just wish I lived in Wisconsin.
I do. We're running a little past time, so thank you, Dorothy, for joining today. And thank you, Andrea. I'm super excited. And I do want to mention one more thing to keeping an eye out. And guys, I have a book coming out in less than 8 weeks, and I'm so excited about it. Dorothy's read it, and I'm so grateful that she's been one of my beta readers. I'm going to leave you with this. It is a fiction book. However, there's a lot of real life within the book. And if you in any way know someone, or you yourself have struggled with any type of trauma, mental anxiety, any type of self-doubt, uncertainty, sense of worth, any sense of, if you've ever struggled with depression or suicidal ideations, get your hands on the book. I have it that my goal and my mission is to really help millions with it, and what I'm bringing forward with the series. And yeah, so that's coming. The book, the name of the book is called Created No Way Out. And again, the first book will be out in 8 weeks. So way more to come around that coming soon.
And you totally want to get your hands on it. I swear I would not let it sit down except to go for work into the bathroom. And the book was like, I'm like, yes, me too. Yes, me too. I get that, you know. And it was so incredible. Seriously, I didn't put it down until I was finished. And it's definitely a book that will help. Like you said, like Jen said, if you have those thoughts, those anxious moments, depression, totally get your hands on that copy. And as a matter of fact, after Joel and Bo get theirs, I want to be the third in line. So let me know when I can order that, because I want a signed autograph copy. I'll let your husband and son go first, and then I want the next one.
You will absolutely. Yes. Okay. What a great conversation. Time always goes so fast, Dorothy. And thank you for joining me again today and in the conversation. So, any final thoughts for our viewers on how to really stand firm in who you are and just your beliefs and practice that?
I think it's just, allowing yourself to have quiet moments so that you can refocus and rejuvenate yourself, to get back to center and what your core beliefs are. And even though there's a lot of outside noise, especially right now, just stay true to who you are. And if you are having moments of doubt and things like that, reach out to your community of people to help bring you back in, because sometimes it's all about perspective, and shifting that one shift will get you out of those moments and get you right back on track where you should be. So surround yourself with community, and also give yourself the grace to have that day off, or those moments, or however long you need to rejuvenate yourself and get yourself back on track. Because if you are not in the lifeboat, how can you help somebody else? If you yourself haven't hooked yourself up to the oxygen, the airplane analogy, put the oxygen on you first before you help somebody else. You really need to do that. And it's not selfish to take care of yourself. And just really focus on the one thing you can control, and not the hundreds of thousands of things around you that you can't control.
Yes to all of that. And final thoughts, guys. Take care of yourself. Just be kind to yourself. Like I said earlier, be patient with yourself. Know that this is a journey. There's nowhere to get to. We're all on this journey, and everyone deserves to thrive and just enjoy and love. So if you're in a tough spot, if you need community, reach out to myself, reach out to Dorothy anytime. We would love to help and support you and invite you into our community as well. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.